Good morning, my beautiful people. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to Free Talk Friday. I am here by myself today, and I want to just go over a little bit more of what we talked about last time with our advanced directive and just encourage you to prepare and have some information or forms in place because that is important. So today, my co-host is absent as today, so I just want to remind you that she will be on our next broadcast, and I am ready to dig right into our topic. So we talked last week or prior week, and I'm going to put my glasses on here regarding advanced will and living will, and we talk about the importance of being prepared, for your loved ones and getting those things in place because it's very important when a person is either ill or just sudden illness took on or death. You want to keep down strife, and you want to have some peace in the departure, you know. So it's important that we prepare these things because we don't understand much of why people argue, why people fight over, something that is so important. We don't understand why, but they do. And sometimes you have to ask yourself, is this necessary? Or, what is the big deal of everybody wanting to get a piece of this or get a piece of that, make the decision um, concerning my mom or dad or family member going here or going there, you know. And then you talk about the decision. So we have people who may be brain dead and their heart is good, but there's a decision in who's going to, you know, make the decision and who's going to say, well, pull the plug. She or he's going to be a vegetable. You have those things that you have to think about because, one child or one sibling or whoever is in charge, is going to be, no, I still want to keep them on. The Although it says the brain is dead, I still want them to stay on that ventilator and, prolong as long as they can. Then you have the other individual saying, no, the brain is dead, they're just there. Even if they come back, they're going to be a vegetable. So you have all these ups and downs, all these confusion and all these things that create problems. So we want to be mindful of those things when you're doing uh, or preparing for your life, the same way you prepare for anything else. I think it's important that we do prepare for our death and burial. And some may disagree with that, and that's okay. But the point is, you have to put things in place so that everybody is not making the decisions for you that you didn't want, or people are running around trying to figure out, okay, what should we do, what should we say or prepare for, because everybody needs to have the opportunity to make a decision based off of what they want, what they like, and not putting everybody at risk in making a decision that you may not like. So um, we talked last time about the different types of you have the living will, and you have the medical power of attorney, you have the advanced directive. They have different names that some people know them by. And so let's talk about again, what is the living will? And like I say, the living will is basically known as the advanced directive, and it's just a legal document that you basically prepare to specify what type of care, what type of person you want to handle your health in the event that you have some sort of issue going on, and they're there just to communicate your wishes. You need to have someone in place that will communicate your wishes according to how you want it. So that's why it's important for you to put these things in place, because, and I'm speaking to myself too, because man, I'm telling you, you would be surprised. You find family members, long lost siblings, that comes out the woodworks when a person is ill or a person dies, and you're like, okay, so the decision now, if you don't have a living will, it has to split between, the children, or who is the next in charge. So again, in case a person becomes unconscious, if they're suffering from, some sort of terminal illness, or life-threatening disease or situation, or, injury like a fatal accident, or, the doctors will always ask, do you have a living will? Because they would, begin to talk to that person so they can make decision. And going back to what I mentioned again about, sometimes you have a brain injury that, your brain is just dead, and there's no activities, there is nothing. So you're considered on medically dead. But if your heart is good, and those are people that tend to, have good heart, and it's good to donate your heart because nothing happened to your heart. And at that time, you want to make sure your living will is in place, that decisions, is being made based off of your wishes. What do you want? What do you want? Do you want cremation? Do you want a burial? Do you want no burial? Do you want to stay on a ventilator? Do you want to be on life support? Do you, in case your term, and it specifies exactly, that person become the responsible party, whether it's a spouse, whether it's a sister, whether it's a family member, a child, but you have to make sure that they respond to your desire. What do you want? And you make sure you explicitly write it out or put it in some form of legal document that it stands in court and it stands in the hospital in case something happens. So again, just remember, the living will, just take this with you. It's a legal document, and you want to get it notarized. You want to get a lawyer. You want to get a lawyer, make sure things are lining up and in place. It's a document that describes and states your desires. What would you like, in case something happens to you? Explicit information regarding what to do. You can appoint, like I said, a family member. It doesn't have to always be your children. It doesn't always have to be your spouse. Unfortunately, that's a sad situation, but we have couples who stay married and they just don't want to be divorced. They have couples who are married and separated for many, many years, and, they just don't want to be divorced. So in that sense, both parties may have their own lives. So you want to, and I think that's the best time to really have a living will in place, because I've seen the detriment behind that when I was in the ICU working. So many problems arise. Married couples who've been married for years and been living their own lives for years have their own individual family, and the other person have their own, living in a whole different state, and spouse got sick, brain dead, had a stroke, decisions need to be made. Guess who is legally the person? He didn't have a will, or she didn't have a will. The person next of kin, or if they're married, they're going to call the spouse. Although the spouse has not been in their life for umpteen years, that's who they call. It is a sad situation. So you have to be really mindful. For those of you who are married and separated, choose one person, or Yeah, one person as your health proxy that is going to make the decision regarding your care, regarding your health. And it doesn't necessarily have to be, like I said, the person passed away, but it definitely needs to be considerate of a terminal illness, or you're in a coma, and those are the things. Just having a living trust, you know and making it legal, it will address those areas. It will address if the person is incapacitated, they're not able to make decisions for themselves, not just only illnesses, but if they become incompetent, like dementia, Alzheimer's. There's so many issues that can arise that needs a health proxy, needs a will set in place. We had to prepare that for our mother, who has dementia. And, like I said, you can enlist in services that can help you through it. You can get a lawyer, attorney, that can help draft it up for you if you're not sure. They're all over. And that's something I would, really recommend that you get and start it like right away. So again, the living will, you'll probably hear in the hospital, they come in and say, do you have an advance directive or a living will? It come into play and they'll explain to you. So you have to have an understanding of what it does, what it is, why do you want to put it in place? Again, it's to set in place for life-threatening conditions. When you're unable to communicate your needs, your desires, your wants, the treatment, that is important to set in place. The doctors will definitely um, talk to you about the living will. Sometimes they talk to you when you're in the hospital, where your mind is sound and you're able and capable of making decisions, and they will encourage you to prepare one. And a lot of times when you go into surgery, or you have a really massive procedure or operation, that's really important to have in place before. Because again, I've been in the hospital for many years. I've been a nurse a long time, and they have people that gone into the hospital to do a simple surgery, and guess what, never comes out. It's sad, it's detrimental to the family, it's detrimental to us, the nurses, because we're like, oh my goodness, and we're having to decide who is the next person that we can talk to and call and give this information, sad news. So and then also, I'm talking on the airways, and different states might be watching me right now, so you have to find out your state policy regarding the living will standards, because again, every state does not comply consistently with each other. Some state has, okay, this will be so you have to find out what is the state saying about your directive, advanced directive living will, or putting a health proxy, put a person in place, and see what the preparation, and the detail, what it entails, and make sure you get information based on your state, information based on where you live, your county, and just some people have a standard form, and that's okay to use. Some state have a specific form based on, so again, those things has to be explained, understand as you are preparing. I recommend, it's a sad subject because nobody wants to think about illness or death, but let's be real. Think about what just happened, the pandemic. A lot of people don't want to even think about the loss that they've gone through, and the multiple loss that they've gone through. And, I have three friends who just, two lost their dad, one lost their mom, been very touching and hitting, to every family. And, each one of them, it's a battle. It's a battle. I don't understand why it's always a battle, it's when it's a loved one that's lost. You would think the family would come together and there would be more understanding, but that's never the case. It's never the case. And we have so many times you're try, even guess what, this is a proper thing that I'm talking about to implement. But guess what? It doesn't always take away. So let me be clear. It doesn't always take away the strife. It doesn't always take away the quarrel. It doesn't always take away the grief. It doesn't always take away the the cycle of just spiraling down and losing your friendship or your relationship with maybe your siblings or your family, because everyone grieves differently. Some are angry and they take it out on everyone. Doesn't matter what the desire of that particular will say. There will be a loved one who say, no, I'm not putting my mom in a box, or I'm not putting my mom over here. I'm not using that funeral home. I'm not keeping her on a life support. I don't want her to suffer like that. But the will clearly says, okay, this is what she wants. So you are still going to have those things. You are still going to have those contention, because they're going to be disgruntledness. They're going to be people who are just upset about, what is going on at that moment. So we have to be mindful in everything that we're doing, because again, like I said, you want to, I know I have that sun in my head. You want to make sure that the living will is in place. Let me see if I can bring it up. It's still there. I'm sorry, guys, and y'all probably hearing they're out there doing the landscaping. But hi, Lisa. Thanks for joining. Good morning. Thank you. Yeah, I think the great information. Yeah, me too. And like I said, it's it has to be, you have to be mindful that it doesn't, like I said, take away the arguments. It doesn't take away the quarrel, the contention, the tension between, family members, strict between loved ones. But you should come to a consensual you should come to a decision based on what the will is written on the information that whether it's your parents or just the loved one has declared, this is what I would like. That is the standard. That's what you follow. So regardless of all the other issues around surrounding what decision is, you have to do what that person is requesting as the proxy, as the health proxy, as the person who is being chosen to make the decision. And yes, they're going to probably be mad at you, but you have to make that decision based off, and that's a legal document. So you have to do what that document says. Now, if a will is not in place, you have not picked a proxy, a health proxy. Now you're going to have to really do some voting. You're going to have to sit all the siblings down and say, listen, I think this is the best way. But, you have to choose the one person. If your siblings, you have more than two or three, sometimes it's a little easier if it's just two, but you still would be amazed with just two siblings, the chaos that goes on between making this decision. So you might be the older, but you might be the more careless and reckless. So as a group, you come to a voting stand to say, okay, let Dawn make the decision. Let my sister, my other sister, Michelle, make the decision, because she's more, adequate in her wisdom here, because she understands this type of things more. So the financial area, you think about who is more versed in that. So you can go through a process of, how can we be effective in doing what's right for mom or dad, doing what's right for our loved one. Okay, we know mom was very close to um, individual A. She usually tells her everything. Although she didn't make a will, well, let's continue to have child A, help make the decision with including us on what is best. So I think that's a good teamwork in working together to bring about a positive result in choosing a care for your mom or dad or loved one, choosing whether it's to take them off of life support or leave them on when you don't have a living will. You know, when you don't have an advance directive, you have to really collaborate together in how you can make an effective decision based off of what mom, dad, loved one would want, not what you want, what she would want. And that's why it's important to build relationship with those who you're close with. Build relationship in positive ways. Build relationships so you're not coming in when the person passes or die or there's a catastrophic event that's taking place to where they're incapacitated. And then you come in, you have no clue. You have not spoken to mom in 20 years. You haven't spoken to sister in 30 years. You haven't, and you're coming in now because you're the oldest child or you're the youngest child, for whatever it is. Build relationships amongst each other. Don't let life go through without talking to each other, without making connection, forgiving one another, and build a positive relationship. Because when my father passed away, he didn't have a living will. My older sister kept saying, prepare will, prepare will. My older sister was very close to my dad. She was a grown woman when I was a teenager. My older sister knew a lot of the things my dad did. He was married. But I knew as a siblings, my older sister was the closest to my dad. I mean, she was very close to daddy. So when he had 8 children, when he passed, it was no fight among us. Number one, my dad had my dad was wealthy. He worked for a company, Exxon, for 20 something years. He had, good benefits. My dad had properties. My dad owned businesses. There was no fight among our siblings. By law, his wife, everything, although he was married to her for umpteen years, by law, because he didn't have a will, everything split 50-50. He had 8 children, and his wife, 50%, and then the other 50% was divided among 8 children. We didn't fight, we didn't fuss, whatever went, we basically just put everything in the ruling of his wife, because what am I there to be fighting her about? This is mine, no, that's his wife. And whatever she decides, we went along with that. And to this day, there was no issue. No, that's a case that went well for us. But there are other people that it doesn't go well like that. They're like, oh, they hate their stepmom because she wasn't our biological mother. They insist that things must go a different way, and they'll fight, and they'll try to get everything, bleed everything to where they can get, possession of what that person owns. Again, if you know you have a cantankerous family, you need to put a will in place. You know you have family members that are estranged, you need to put a will in place. You need a will regardless, but especially in those times where you have not talked to, or siblings, there's rivalry with father, parents, mom, dad, sisters, brothers. You really need to put a will in place, because they will be contacted. It doesn't matter if you're not speaking to your loved ones or your sisters, your brother. If there is a father that passed, the children will be contacted. Unless you just absolutely say, I don't want to have anything to do with them or anything to do with what's going on, and you cut yourself out, that's up to you. But you will be contacted regarding whatever is going on. So that's my recommendation. I hope this blesses you, because I think it's important for us to be mindful, of those things that we're doing, so we can always, prepare, and know what's in the living will. So again, just recapping, you want to put in the living will, addressing all medical procedures, common to like life-threatening situation, such as resuscitation, like via electric shock. Some people just don't want that. Ventilation. Do I want to be on dialysis? You can, choose, like I say, what you want, what you don't want, in your will. Some people say, okay, if you can bring me back, do everything to bring me back. But if I have to be on a life support, I don't want that. You know, you can indicate whether or not you wish to donate your organs. All those things that is important to put in a will. I think, not I think, some states, I'm not sure if all states, but I know Georgia for sure, you can check yes to donating your organs. And I used to think differently about it until, like I said, I worked in the healthcare and see the need. And so for me, I don't mind donating my body parts, because I truly strongly believe. And again, like, there are other people may think differently, but that's okay. I believe, when I'm gone, my body has no use. So if there's the heart that's good that can work for somebody else, take it. If the brain, not the brain, but if there's anything, the kidneys, whatever that can be used for somebody else, take it. Because, I know where I am at. And that's the best place that I'm going to be with, is in spirit with my dad, until, the second coming. I'll be at a safe place. So you can't harm me if you cut up my body. And for me, I want to be cremated. So I rather you use the parts and the organs that is necessary to help somebody, whether it's the eyes, my pretty eyes, or my skin, of course, my pretty skin. If you don't have any terminal illness or diseases, they won't use your organs. Like if you have hepatitis C or blood disease, or pneumonia and those kind of things, they won't use your organs. But if there's nothing going on and you just had a normal death, or for whatever reason, certain disease, they won't use it. But like your eyes, people are needing eyes all the time, and skin for grafting and things like that. So you can indicate those things in your living will, that it's okay to use my body organs, for tissues, and after death, and things like that. And that's very important. You can say, I refuse to be sustained on a life machine. You don't want the life sustaining care. There, some people want to be on there. They want to go on, and you can indicate that. You can also indicate, I don't want pain medicine. I want pain medicine. I want to be made comfortable during, my final hours. You can put all that in your will. Again, be specific. And then if you don't know and don't understand, it's very, very, very important that you reach out to an attorney, and those attorney that deal strictly with those situation. They can help you and explain things better, and put things in a proper order for you. Like I said, follow up with your state, knowing what your state says. Another important aspect is to remember who reside where. Spend time in another state. It can conflict to where your address is, and certain things. So put those things in place. So you have an address here in this state, but you reside over here. So it's just, all these things need to really, you from the islands, but you want to be, you live in the States, but you want to be buried. You want your body to go back. You want, so you really want to specify all these things, so you can make the best of your living will, make the best of your choices in, how to, also, if your brain, there's no brain activity, if the doctors are saying you're expected to remain unconscious for the rest of your life, do you want to just sit there, prolong, and run up insurance, and knowing your family needs money to survive? Because, so even if it's like I said, terminal illness or life-threatening situation, do you want to still there? Because find out, am I present? What is the injury gonna cause me to be a vegetables? Or so it's so much things that you have to think about, because when you're making these decisions, you're not just thinking about yourself. You're thinking about your family. You're thinking about your children. You're thinking about your spouse. What is do you expect your spouse to go on without moving on? You're on the ventilator for 10 years, 15 years, you still expect for her to come every day to the hospital, and all these things you have to put in place, just because. So are you doing it in a selfish, is your motive selfish, or your motive is caring, in why you say that, let me prolong forever, and they have people like that, that don't want to be parted, and they have miracles that, I have seen and work, so in all of that, those are the things that I want you to bear in mind: how to make your living will, what to do to put in there. What does it mean to you? What are the, positive aspect of it? And I really don't see any negative aspect of having a living will. But like I said, whether you have one or not, you are going to have the situation where there will be some contentions among family members, and, you know, between siblings, and things like that. So just get a sound understanding of what this is, what you want. Get a sound understanding, first of all, of you. Understand who you are. What would you like? I know without a shadow of a doubt, I've had people, Christians, told me, oh, that's not good for you to do cremation. I've had family say that's not good. But you know what? I'm sound in my decision. And unless God himself say don't do it, then I won't. He has not told me. I've been saying that since I know I was a young little girl. I don't want a funeral that's going to cost an arm and a leg, and people have to be going through all of this. Just cremate me, and you can just spread my little ashes somewhere in the sea. I don't even care for you to keep it in the house. I'm not into all of that, because the place where I want you to think of me as is being in a great place with my Lord, and everything else doesn't matter. So that's me. That's my soundness in understanding what I want. That's number one. Number two, if I'm brain dead, I don't want to be prolonging on a life support. I know what I want. I want, if I have good heart, if I have good things that can be donated, go ahead and do it, you know. So there's so many things that, oh my God, even me, myself, when I started thinking about these things, I'm like, wow, do I want my husband to just be sitting around for years? My prayer is that there is a miracle. Yes, I don't, I'm gonna put a time, I don't want, oh Lord, they find out, oh, we need to put her on life support today, and then tomorrow you just decide to, pull it. You didn't even give a time for the prayers to go up. The prayers go up, and the king of Persia, which is the enemy, he up there fighting that prayer to hit, and Michael is fighting to bring back the blessings, to bring a miracle, to bring me back to life. And you done less than 24 hours. You say, cut that cord. No. So I'm gonna be specific with that too. Again, make your goals, understand what you want, where you are, who you are, and that makes things easier for the family to, make decisions for you. So that's what I wanted to touch on today. And, you know, just so you know what includes in, making these decisions. Again, go over, you find an attorney, and you can do some research for yourself. Do you want pain medicine? Do you want to stay in the vegetative states? Just all those things. Who is the person that you trust? Trust is important to make the decision, because again, if you're a wealthy person and a person is conniving and scheming, and you put them to make a decision, oh my goodness, do they follow your decision quickly and just say cut the cord, and then bam, gain all the money because their name is on the living will, So you have to think about that. Trust is important, and not just getting a help proxy, a person who's just gonna make a decision just because, So, all right. Well, that ends my time, and please share. And I trust that, this information did you well, because as I do the research, it did me well too. And hello, Sonia. Thanks for listening. And she also says she agrees with the cremation choices. Yes, I do. And Sonia is my friend, And we always talk about that. We don't want to go through all that long drama of, and I don't even want to start this topic again because, having to pay for coffin. And I'm like, thousands. I think the cheapest is like 6,000. Are you kidding me? To put in the dirt, that $6,000 can help my husband, help my children. I refuse to do that. I don't want thousands of dollars on a funeral. I don't want that. And that's just me because, I don't think about the earthly things that, that's not going to bring me any joy. It's not doing anything for me anyway. So, yes, and everybody thinks differently. You go ahead and you have the bling bling coffin if you want. That's $20,000, and there's so many people that's in death after funeral, death after babies, death after marriage. But those are lively things. Death after funeral should never be because the person has passed away. No, you should celebrate that they're going to a good place and that they're no longer suffering. And I don't want to be suffering now in debt to where I have to get a heart attack trying to pay off all the expense. No, prepare, get yourself out of debt. Put things in place where your family is not being robbed of you're already gone. That's a rob. Then now you're being robbed of financial issues, the financial gain that you could have gotten, instead of having it, it's going toward debt. Don't do that to your family. Think about your family, think about your children, think about where you want them to be, a happy place, even though you're not there. So prepare well. The Bible says that a good man leave a godly inheritance for his children. So prepare for inheritance for your family in case something happens to you. Prepare that. Keep your credit good so you're not in debt. Don't acquire unnecessary debt that you end up leaving on your spouse. Okay, that's another topic. So, I only have one child. I feel it would be a huge burden on her to buy casket, etc. Absolutely, absolutely. You may have the money, but why? And again, that's not a personal opinion. So you do what best for you and what you and your family decide to do, and that's the best. You take it from there. All right. Well, without further ado, we come to a conclusion of our broadcast today. Thank you for Free Talk Friday, visiting, viewing me, and listening. And I pray that you share this content. This is information to bring you awareness, information that you can share with families, loved ones, and to help the community, because we have to be the one to build up ourselves, build up our family, and build up our community in knowledge, and that where we can be empowered to do great things. Amen. All right. Thank you so much. God bless you. I'll see you all next week. Bye-bye. I'm trying to don't worry, I'm going to be closing right now. All right. Bye-bye.